I've opened up my heart. I'm at the start. I save the world. I save the world. I save the world.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I would also, of course, like to welcome the people who are now watching this prepared video. Thank you so much for watching our videos. Thank you for watching my video. We post my videos on several platforms. We post them on YouTube and on BitChute and on Rumble. And now we actually post them on Twitter itself. Oh, it's called X now. So please make sure you subscribe to whatever platform you are watching this video on and leave a comment. I always like to hear what people say. I also want to encourage people who are not members of the Community Miracle Center's healing team to join the healing team. It's wonderful to be able to join together with fellow dedicated Course in Miracles friends and focus your healing light and energy on those who've asked for help. Course in Miracles tells us that the healing of God's child is all that the world is for. So it is a organized way to actively participate in our one purpose for being here, which is to share healing with all our sisters and brothers everywhere. So just email me. We can get a conversation going about that. There are currently 56 members on the healing team. You get the healing team email every day from me, which has something original, inspired to say, and it also contains that prayer and healing list. My talk for today. I recently had an exchange with a longtime friend, and I have not seen this friend in person for almost 2 years now. And this is a person who lives locally, and so occasionally we will get together for dinner. And this person informed me that they would not meet me for dinner if I was going to wear my priest collar, is what they called it. I don't call it a priest collar because I don't call myself a priest. But they called it a priest collar. Wouldn't meet with me if I was going to wear the collar. And that got me thinking. Now, the last time we met a couple of years ago, this person also told me that. And at that time, I was guided to say, okay, I can do that. I still have some of my other shirts. I can wear a regular shirt and wear a long tie. It's okay. And I thought of the A Course in Miracles quotation, recognize what does not matter, and if your brothers ask you for something outrageous, do it because it does not matter. So at that time, I just saw it as an outrageous request, and so I did it. However, it didn't sit really well with me, and I have noticed that as the thought has come up throughout the last couple of years about asking this person if they'd like to get together for dinner, I've remembered that the last time we got together, they didn't want me wearing my cleric shirts, and that's how I present myself in the world right now, and it just stopped me from extending an invitation. So when the communication was happening and dinner started getting suggested, I let it be known that I'd love to have dinner with this person, but I'm not comfortable with not showing up with my collar on. And so that started a whole discussion, and it also got me thinking a lot about just my life and the arc of my life, and the fact that I feel like I'm going through a personal religious revival with my life. I have been studying A Course in Miracles for more than 4 decades, and I have to say that it's still very alive and real for me, and it's still propelling me to new levels of growth and understanding and spiritual mastery, really. And so I was really happy with that. Now, I have not always worn the collar, as some of you who have known me for a long time know. But I started wearing the collar in March of 2020, so about 3.5 years ago, when the shelter-in-place directives were issued. My guidance at that point was that I was not going to shelter in place, and that I felt that my work was essential. It was as essential as any of the other things they were declaring essential. And who was going to argue with me that clergy weren't essential workers? And so I got my clergy shirt out. I did have one at the time, so I got it out and I put it on, and I ordered some more right away. And I have been wearing the collars and these shirts ever since. Every day when I go out in public, that's what I wear. And I talked about it the very first Sunday that I had a chance to speak after that directive was made, which was March 29th, 2020. I gave a talk called Drastic Times Require Drastic Measures, where I talked about the times we were in and how I had now gotten the guidance to wear a minister's collar. So, this is my guidance and this is my process. So I really definitely want to say that I don't expect other people to have my process and other people to get my guidance. I don't necessarily expect anybody else in our congregation, even our ministers, to wear clergy shirts. I mean, they certainly could if they wanted to, and I think that would be a hoot, but I'm not really expecting any of them to do it unless they get that guidance to do it. But I definitely got the guidance to do it. So a little background, I was first ordained as an A Course in Miracles minister in 1986. I mean, that was 34 years of being Reverend Tony before I decided to put on the cleric collar on a daily basis. And I think 34 years was probably a good enough run to feel comfortable really being Reverend Tony. That would seem like a natural evolution to me. I had gotten all my legal documents to reflect my new name, but I had embraced Reverend Tony. I am legally Reverend Tony Ponticello. My driver's license says Reverend Tony. The IRS communicates to me as Reverend Tony. That is my legal name. And as I said at the beginning of the gathering, I have been, at this job for 36 and a half years. I have been leading a Sunday A Course in Miracles gathering for longer than that, because I was leading one before we actually formed the Community Miracle Center. So for like 37 and a half years or so. So it seemed perfectly fine to me. And I guess in 2020, I decided to kick it up a notch, especially considering the drastic times that were going on in the world, that I needed to meet those times myself, and then I needed to meet those times for my congregation, all of you really, in the greater congregation, that I needed to be that symbol and that demonstration for myself and for the people that I was serving. So it has been a personal religious revival for me. And I wasn't aware of how it would actually, kick up my own practice so much doing that. I guess I should have realized that, but it didn't occur to me, and it didn't become evident until after I had been doing it for a while. So, religious revival. Some people say there's a religious revival going on in our society and in our country, that as the institutions that we formerly relied on, the government and the medical institutions, as they have proved themselves to be rather fallible and maybe possibly totally inept during the whole COVID crisis, that people are turning within and turning to other institutions, and many of those are turning to spiritual institutions or churches or religious institutions to get some greater meaning for life and to get some greater connection, because government and the medical establishment, and it just isn't providing it anymore. So possibly that's something to look at and think about. I mean, on the surface, actually, research says that church attendance is down, that the attendance at regular church service never really rebounded when the pandemic ended. So, they did the shelter in place, they closed all the churches, churches weren't essential, marijuana dispensaries and liquor stores were essential, they stayed open. But churches, no. So, okay, churches can be open now, but people got out of the habit. And people got used to connecting via Zoom. And church attendance hasn't rebounded to the level that it was. And it wasn't that good. It hasn't even rebounded to that level. I think the statistic I heard was that 30% of the population reported going to church on an average of one time a month. So you can sort of think about that. So there's that. Now for me, wearing the collar, nothing is more important than me having a continual reminder of my spiritual practice, my spiritual connection, my mission, my purpose in life. And having the collar is a continual reminder of that. Every time I look in the mirror, I see it, and I remember what my life dedication is about, and what my worldly dedication is about. As I have said, I've been the minister here for 36 and a half years. That's a lot of time to be dedicated to a job. So the mirror reminds me of that. But remember, A Course in Miracles tells us that people are our mirror. And so I get the mirror in my interactions with other people. So when I'm interacting with other people, even people who I've not met before, people who may be, quote, strangers, obviously one of the first things they see about me is that I have a cleric collar on. And that's a little unusual probably. And I think it gets them to pause a moment and to be open to an exchange that might be a little different than maybe they have with some other people. So I get the mirror of my dedication reflected to me in every interaction with every person that I have. And that is terrific. I mean, that's just a remarkable, wonderful thing to get me to remember what my life is about. I know a lot of you who are Course in Miracles students, and you do the workbook lessons, and the big challenge, of course, is to try to remember the lesson all throughout the day. So just think of what a wonderful thing it might be for me to get reminded in every single interaction with every single person that I have that I am a religious, spiritual person, and that I have a dedication to a higher spiritual purpose in my life. So, sure, it has been a big part of my personal religious revival. And I do feel it. I do feel that that I have changed and I have evolved over the past years. That first Sunday that I wore the collar and I spoke, drastic times require drastic measures, and that was 3.5 years ago. I've given probably a little more than 100 talks since then, and I have to say that the quality of those talks is different. It's different than the talks. I gave great talks before, but there's something just more connected. And for me, there's something more powerful and more real for me in the talks that I have given since I put on the collar, since drastic times require drastic measures. I don't even go back and look at the other talks now. And when I do get bits and pieces of them, I hear them and they're fine. I can stand by them. But there's a different energetic connection that happened after March of 2020. I've always embraced that lesson that Reverend Deuce Althea read, 154, I'm among the ministers of God. as, personally significant. And in that lesson is the little prayer. It's the inscription actually on all the ordination certificates that we issue at the Community Miracle Center. And it is, I am among the ministers of God, and I am grateful that I have the means by which to recognize that I am free. So that's what it means to be a minister of God. And certainly my changing my name to Reverend Tony and then wearing the collar is an ever-increasing awareness and embracing of being a minister of God. So for me, that statement is very significant. And that statement is an interesting statement. It says, I'm among the ministers of God, and I have the means by which to recognize I am free. It doesn't say that I will always know I am free. So as I go through my life, it's not like I don't have issues and I don't have problems and I don't have fears that come up sometimes and then I don't have anger that comes up sometimes. But in those moments, what I hopefully remember as quickly as possible, that I possess a technology and a means whereby I can free myself from that fear, where I can free myself from that anger. And why wouldn't I want to be reminded of that with every interaction that I have? Of course I would. And why wouldn't that be a huge religious revival for me? Of course it is. So I acknowledge that my whole life and everything that I've done, but certainly wearing the collar for this 3.5 years has been really something that has kicked me up into another level. The friend who wanted to have dinner with me said that it was inherently dishonest for me to wear a cleric collar because I was not a priest. And I thought that was rather amusing. I have led a Sunday gathering for 37 years in a legally licensed or recognized church organization by both the state and federal government. And I figure I'm just about as much of a minister and as much clergy as anybody could possibly hope to be. How that somehow got spun as inherently dishonest, I don't know. But it was their problem and not my problem. I do not feel like I am impersonating a priest. I never called myself a priest, actually, because that usually implies Catholic or Episcopal. I do say I'm a minister if somebody asks me. And actually the term that society probably bestows on people like me is pastor. I'm the pastor. I'm the pastor of the Community Miracle Center. I'm the executive minister. That's my official title. But I'm the pastor. I like that word. So pastor actually means shepherd, and it's related to the word pasture. The sheep graze on the pasture. So those words are related, pasture, pastor. So the pastor is, aware of her position and role and symbolic significance with the flock, with the congregation. And anything that keeps me aware of that, I think, is a good thing. As I said, I've been running the Sunday gathering, which we started before we actually formed the Community Miracle Center, so since 1986, every week since 1986. And now I have kicked it up to the level of wearing the collar. And I never go out in public without the collar. So, sometimes that's a challenge because sometimes it's hot. And having an open collar might be a little cooler. However, before I wore a collar, I wore a tie almost every day. And when I was in the restaurant business and a waiter, I wore bow ties every day. So I'm used to having a tight collar around my neck. It wasn't that much of a transition, but I am aware that sometimes it's a little uncomfortable. I don't always wear a collar when I'm home alone. and I don't wear a collar when I go to bed at night. So if people really feel like they need to see me without a collar, then they'll have to have a little bit more of an intimate relationship with me and be around my home situation, because that's where I am without a collar. In 2021, I had the opportunity, so this is when the pandemic was just ending, I had the opportunity to go to my biological home in upstate New York, Canastota, New York, and to attend my high school reunion. And a major milestone reunion hadn't been held the year before because of the pandemic, so everybody was eager to get together. And I had, I had a little question about whether I should show up with the collar and how that would be received by people. But the guidance I got was to do it. It would be fine. And that meant, of course, that I would show up with my family, my sisters, my biological sisters, and aunts, uncles, cousins, and things like that with a collar on. And it all was actually perfectly fine. I did it. I felt very accepted. And it actually sparked a lot of really interesting conversations. As I said, you see yourself and you know yourself in the mirror that are the other people that you relate to. And having other people relate to me more profoundly as Reverend Tony, who I had been known as already for years, was just really, really a wonderful thing. So, I certainly don't feel that it's a lie or anything deceitful for me to call myself Reverend Tony, to change my name to Reverend Tony, and to have a cleric collar. I don't think it's arrogant. Some people have accused it as kind of arrogant. You need to feel different or separate, and I don't really see it arrogant. And Course in Miracles says, and this was in that lesson that Reverend Deuce Althea read, lesson number 154, let us today be neither arrogant nor falsely humble. We have gone beyond such foolishness. So it's not arrogant, but I'm not also going to be falsely humble as well. I am Reverend Tony Ponticello. I have for 36 and a half years been the executive minister of the Community Miracle Center. I do give talks a majority of the Sundays. I do practice A Course in Miracles the way I practice it. I do lessons of the day. I do write something inspirational to my healing team every single day. That's the truth. I don't have to pretend that that's not true. That would be some sort of false humility. And that does change a person. It does change. And it does give me a personal religious revival that's ongoing and continually escalating, and I want to share that. And I want to give the world a symbolic representation of that. And it's all part of a whole picture, and the collar and my name all reflect that. And again, this is for me. This isn't what I'm suggesting that anybody else do, but I'm trying to give you all and the world an understanding of what my process is with all of it. So in the 3.5 years that I've been wearing the collar, I have gotten almost absolutely no negativity about it at all. Waiters and waitresses in restaurants seem to relate to me well. It's actually a way they remember you faster. So you become a little more memorable. Oh, you're that minister that came in. Oh, they remember you the next time you come in. Of course, leaving a big tip helps with that too. But they remember you. And that's really good. Clerks in stores remember you and are accepting. Tellers at banks are fine and they remember you. My Lyft drivers, my bus drivers. Interesting thing is sometimes total strangers feel like the collar is some sort of permission that they have just to come up to you and start conversations. I generally think people are friendlier to you, or they're friendlier to me because I wear the collar. It gives them a certain, maybe a safety feeling, or maybe just a welcome mat, a welcome door that's open, and they feel it's just fine for them to start conversations with you that they probably wouldn't start with other people. And they say, "Hello, Pastor," as I'm walking down the street. And I like it. I just like it. It feels good. And again, it is that constant reminder, and it's part of my own religious revival. And it reminds me about what my continual mission is. Course in Miracles tells us, until you see the healing of the Son as all you wish to be accomplished by the world, by time, and all appearances, you will not know the Father, nor yourself. So it reminds me of that all the time, and it gives me more and more opportunities to heal myself and heal the Holy Son of God, and see every interaction that I have with everybody as part of that healing. And until we heal and devote ourselves to the healing of ourselves and all the other holy children of God, we're not going to know God, and we're not going to know who we are. Some people want to go right to knowing God and knowing who they are. The only way to get to that is through dedicating yourselves to healing, to dedicating every interaction you have to healing. And anything that keeps that forefront in your mind is a good thing. The collar is an important symbol. I was doing a little research for this talk, and I was reading some things in some more traditional Christian publications, because this is a big question in traditional churches right now. I know when I talk to my sister Sarah, who goes to Catholic Church, it's a big question for the Catholics, because the priests right now aren't required to wear collars all the time. They do when they're doing the church service, but out in the street they don't have to. It's their option, and actually most choose not to wear them right now, saying that that the collar creates a separation between them and the other people. And I actually don't feel that at all. I feel the collar creates an openness whereby I connect more with other people than I ever did before. And I also think it is an important symbol. And I hope, I know some of you may be challenged by it a little bit, but I hope once you get over that challenge that you see it actually as a comfort. That you see it as a comfort that Reverend Tony is continually remembering what his job is, what his role is, what his vocation is, and he's continually keeping in the forefront of his mind his dedication to not only his own healing, but the healing of the entire congregation, to us. And I hope it inspires you to think of that, and I hope you do find it a comfort. And I challenge you to choose that, in case some other thoughts come up from time to time. It has definitely increased my confidence. It has definitely increased my own sense of mastery. Now, Course in Miracles says, doubt along the way will come and go to come again, yet is the ending sure. So I have been really aware that I haven't had much doubt lately. I don't doubt the efficacy of A Course in Miracles. I don't doubt my own practice of it. I don't doubt my own miracle working ability. I don't doubt my ability to heal any potential pain that may come up in my own life. I have real confidence in all of that, and there have been many things that have increased that confidence. Of course, just practicing A Course in Miracles has. I've been practicing it for over 40 years. Starting the church, Community Miracle Center, was a big part of that. Claiming the name Reverend Tony, getting ordained, claiming that as my name, making that my legal name on all my documents. Starting the healing team in 2017, that was a big part. Having that discipline of writing something inspirational to share with people every single day. And now wearing the collar has been part of that too. I mean, this is all part of my own continuing religious revival. And what about my friend who wants to have dinner only if I don't show up impersonating a priest, as they say? Well, my guidance this time, even though 2 years ago it was an outrageous occurrence, my guidance really is, what kind of a friend needs you to dress a certain way in order for you to have dinner with them? Are they really your friend? I will love them always, but really, I don't want to have dinner with somebody who wants me to show up differently than I show up. That would be the lie. And so that's what I'm sitting with right now. So I appreciate you letting me share part of my own personal process, integrate it into your own life, and how it might have value for you. Again, I don't expect anybody to do what I do, but I do what I do, and it is unique. And I am the pastor here, and I am Reverend Tony, and I do show up with a collar, and I'm very happy about it. That's my talk for today. Thank you very much.
Woke up my eyes to see, woke up my head to beat, woke up my heart to be free, woke up our world with you and me. I've opened up my heart, I'm at the start. I save the world, I save the world, I save the world, I save